Oh, hello, Kate, and thank you for joining us today. And thank you for a very informative session that we've just come out of. Obviously, I don't need to say, we've said it a million times before, MiFID II is still very much hot on the agenda. What are the key points that have come out of the proposal so far?
I don't think there have been any surprises in the MiFID II document in terms of the big picture issues, and that's a very good thing on my part. I feel that we prepared the ground fairly well. When I was speaking here last year, it was very obvious that we were in the very early stages of setting the framework. And so the report we produced a year ago has certainly set the environment for where the Commission has now come out. The Commission have gone a little further in certain areas and a little less far in others. But we have actually now got a document with a consistent line coming through it. Some of it we don't particularly like, other bits we really, really like. But in terms of data consolidation, whether or not we have a competitive tape or a single tape, these are all debates we're about to have in Parliament. Quality of data is still a really big issue, and we've also got some big issues going on about how we apply all of this to fixed income. And I think that's where the debate is now going to move on as to how we actually get this right and calibrated for the fixed income space.
So do you think it's a case of that people aren't really regulating themselves enough in terms of data quality, and it's kind of a whip crack in that sense to get people in line and provide better quality data that the customers need?
Well, the really surprising thing has been that since MiFID has been implemented, even though trading has actually become much more competitive and all these different platforms, what we've actually seen is a poorer quality of data emerge from it. So in a more intensive computerized world, we're getting less and less good quality data. And that just seems a real irony to what has happened post-MiFID implementation. So we need to remedy that. It's fairly easy to do. I think the standards, most people know what the standards should be. So I really do hope that ahead of MiFID II, we will already see people moving to standardized data sets. So we can already start to see data being consolidated ahead of what is likely to be a 2014 timeline for MiFID II. So we don't need to wait that long if the market gets their act together.
And so do you think then we need a single consolidated tape, or can the idea of a commercial solution actually work?
Well, in MiFID I, the Commission always foresaw that there would actually be a consolidated tape emerge and that we would end up with a natural market solution with a consolidated tape coming out. That, of course, hasn't happened. And so the Commission now have had to put measures in place to try and encourage that and to try and put the framework in place to make it happen. They're going down, in the first instance, a competitive APA route, which allows people to actually still come up with market solutions to this. Now, there's a 2-year review clause in that. So if they actually don't get what they want in terms of good quality consolidated tape as a result, which is affordable for all the investors to use, then they will actually go one step further in the review clause and actually create a single mandated consolidated tape. So it gives the market an opportunity to get it right for themselves. If they fail to deliver, then the legislators will step in.
So I also, from talking to a couple of people, there were comments that perhaps the proposals so far seem a bit vague and don't have enough detail. Is that deliberate at this point to some degree, that actually the reason they're vague is because it hasn't yet been finalised, that we're not far enough down the line yet, or is it simply that it just has worked out that way so far?
Well, I think a lot of the arguments and comments about the vagueness are actually also stemming from the need for flexibility. So the Commission this morning explained that the whole OTF concept was one of flexible provision of a platform. And so to get flexibility, you can't be too prescriptive. So by its very nature, you have to have a trade-off between those two. But for me, this is the start of the process, and I think it's important everybody realize this is called a draft proposal for a very good reason, because now the Parliament will work upon it, and all the political groups set to work with rapporteur and shadow rapporteur to draft their own report, which will be a response to this document. And the Council of Ministers, of course, also have to come to a common position over the next few months. And so those two different groups will now amend this and shape it into what they think it should be. And if anything, I would think that this is going to have probably one of the largest numbers of amendments ever submitted in my time in the Parliament. If the Alternative Investment Fund Management Directive had 1,600 amendments to it, I suspect this is going to be well in excess of 2,000. So it's a huge dossier, it deserves to have a lot of attention, and the amendment procedure is one which is very open, very flexible, So we will obviously consider any amendments submitted to us by any interested party to improve the documents, and we will actually look at them, consider them, and decide whether or not we will incorporate them into our amendments that are formally submitted. So please, the industry has now got an opportunity to shape this for themselves. They should take that opportunity over the next few months to deliver better solutions that we can then debate and actually vote upon whether or not they have merit.
But you did actually, in the panel inside, give us a whistle-stop tour of the timeline. I know you don't want to comment on exactly when you think it really will be delivered, but what are we aiming for? If you could just go through that quickly again for us.
The objective will be that in the Parliament we will actually get a working document through by February of next year, and so we have quite a short timeline to get a very large document together, but that will be the working document. We'll then have an exchange of views in March, and then we'll have the formal report from the rapporteur shortly after, before April. The amendments procedure then starts, where we amend his document, and those amendments will be submitted, we hope, by May, in order that we can then discuss compromises between all the different political groups during the month of June. This is the optimistic time frame, which means we'll have a committee vote on that final text for the Parliament to start negotiating with the Commission and the Council of Ministers in trialogue by the end of the summer, beginning of the summer, to start the discussions the beginning of the autumn time. So with a lot of wind behind us, we might actually get to Christmas for an agreement in trialogue, and therefore the level 2 measures can then start with ESMA being given the guidelines that it has to then form.
Well, if anyone does want to have their say, you did invite people to get in touch. How can they do that?
Well, there's a rapporteur who's actually now put a questionnaire out. That questionnaire is the first point to start. It has a list of questions within it, particularly a lot of questions with regards to the new trading facility, so the OTF. So if you have comments to make, fill in that questionnaire, respond to it. That's your first port of call, and you need to do that before the second week of December. So it really is quite a short, tight time frame. Get those comments in. There's a public hearing on the 5th of December in Brussels. People can come and actually have some views heard and exchanged there. And we need to, obviously, as individual rapporteurs and shadow rapporteurs, get those comments directly to us too. We're all on email, we're all freely accessible. We're a little tight on time for meetings because so many thousands of people want to come and see us, but by all means use your trade associations too. Make sure that your voices are heard from every route you can possibly make them heard.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us today. I'm looking forward to seeing where this road takes us. Thank you very much.